wing. I think if you looked at all my positions, I think way more of them are left wing than right wing.
What are the left-wing positions that you still hold?
Well, the big one is having some sort of a social safety net. I was on welfare when I was a kid. My family was on food stamps. We were fucking poor.
So, where maybe I would agree that would be a traditional left wing idea, not necessarily anymore, right? The right kind of understands. Now, if you want to talk about libertarians, then you're probably right. Where the safety net should come from other people rather than from government. But the right, I think, is more and more down with social safety net when it comes to poor people.
Poor shit. And I remember that helping us a lot. We had food, where I don't know what we would be doing if we did. I mean,
This is a point where you can kind of see that Joe is still, he's a liberal at heart, but liberal in the sense that liberal's kind of been like taken over where it means like a nice person. He's a nice person. He's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He's a caring person. And, I believe that the right is also caring, nice, good people. It's just that, people on the right deal more with reality, right? Like you can't give everybody everything, right? That's the reality. It's not that nobody wants anyone to have food, right? I don't think people on the right, I don't see any large swaths of people on the right that would say, if you can't afford food, if you're a mom and 3 kids and you can't afford food, then we're not going to give you any, or we're not going to assist you in having food, But it's one of those things that still lingers, right? It still lingers on people that used to be, lefties, and now find themselves having the same positions but being right. So what does that mean? If all these people have the same positions that they were when they were lefties and they're now on the right, that doesn't, you can't equate that to the left anymore. Right? You have to, at a certain point, you have to start saying, well, these seem like right-leaning ideas. Not necessarily right-leaning ideas, but they're just ideas. They're ideas that are universal, and so not one group has a hold over any of these ideas.
We were in a bad place, and there's social safety nets for people. My family got out of that. And my stepfather and my mother wound up doing well. They did really great, and they got out of debt and bought a house and great job and the whole deal. But when I was a little boy, we were fucked. And I think social safety nets are very important for people. It's very important for society. If you care about people, you care about the whole society. You don't want people starving when there's ways to develop government programs to make sure people have food. And I think this idea of pull them up by their bootstraps is horseshit.
It's not horseshit because it's you just said it's what your family did. Now, he's going to say that maybe he's going to end up saying the famous line is, what are you going to do if you don't have boots? Yeah, okay, but you know what? We're still in one of the most prosperous countries with the most mobility, economic mobility ever in the history of the world, probably, in our recorded history.
Some people don't have boots.
Yeah.
They don't have straps. They don't have nothing. They're fucked. They're fucked from the moment they were born. They were born into a bad family environment, in a bad neighborhood, and crime and gangs and drugs and
again, I'm not beating up on him, right? Because it's the skewed perspective that he has, that this is a left-leaning idea, and he still is holding on to the notion that the right is okay with doing away with that stuff.
It's not even playing field.
Where are you at with healthcare?
I think healthcare 100% should be socially funded. I think that Medicare and Medicaid, having programs where people who are hurt can get an operation and it's not going to bankrupt them for the rest of their life, is another thing that I think society should be. It should be a part of our agreement to take care of each other as a community, that we chip in money for what people would think of as socialist positions. And I always bring up the fire department because the fire department is one of the best examples that everybody sort of agrees. It's a socialist sort of thing. You give your tax dollars, the tax dollar supports the fire department fairly puts out fires for everybody.
So maybe a good example, but also a bad example, because the majority of towns have private fire departments, right? Or volunteer fire departments, even more so. So again, it's one of those things where in his mind, he has shaped that this has to be a government thing. It doesn't have to be a government thing to run well. Most of the time, the fact that it's not a government thing means it'll run better. But yeah.
They don't not put out your fire if you don't have any money.
Yeah.
It's not like they don't, the fires don't.
It's such a good example. But when you compare that to the way that medical access is done, at least in this country.
But I also believe in competition. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I want my doctor to be a bad motherfucker who drives a Mercedes. I want my doctor to be really good. I want him to be an artist. I want to go to the guy who fixes the Lakers' knees. That's the guy you want. You want that guy who has a nice watch and he lives.
And this is where he's teetering on both sides of the fence. I don't know if he really means to, but so the example that he's giving there is he wants socialist medicine, socialized medicine, socially subsidized medicine, but he wants everyone to be the best. That can't happen. It's not. That's a dreamland, right? Is every doctor is not going to be the one that performs surgery on the Lakers. Every doctor is not going to have the BMW or whatever car he was talking about, right? There's going to be a scale. There's going to be a graduating scale of people. And the only way, right, that those people come about is through competition. And the only way to have competition is through a free market. You cannot have a competition when everyone's getting the same thing. Right? If you become a doctor and they say, all right, everyone's going to make $100,000 a year. All right, you're going to get $100,000 a year doctors. That's what you're going to get. You're not going to get the doctor that should be making a couple $1 million a year, driving around in a freaking, whatever high-end, car they want to be driving out, hanging out at the yachts and stuff like that, coming in and doing some amazing surgery that 95% of the other doctors wouldn't be able to do. You're not going to have that because you've eliminated the competition. You've eliminated the incentive to get that, right? And that's one of the things where, when you look at this, it's an argument where he wants both sides, right? He wants everyone to be covered and everyone to excel in excellence. You can't have that. That's an impractical idea.
Lives in a nice house and he kicks ass and he knows how to fucking fix people really well. He's the best at it. And you go to him and you get an operation and you're fucking golden. That's what you want. When you want competition, because competition inspires excellence. Being rewarded for your hard work is a giant incentive for people to get amazing at things. And you need that. You need that too. But there's also a lot of very good doctors who would be very happy to do something that helps the overall greater good of the community. Just like you have really good criminal defense attorneys that are, assigned to you if you're, if you're getting unjustly tried, and you want a really good one that can help you. There's state-appointed attorneys that are just good people that want to help people.
Yeah. Does that exist? Sure. But the problem is when you have a socialized system, you're not incentivizing that, right? So you're always going to get an outlier. You're always going to get somebody in there that's doing good for the sake of good and is excellent for the sake of being excellent and all those things, all those nice things. But are you going to get the sheer number of people in that realm that you would have if you would have allowed competition to take over, to take hold, and to, get them to strive for that perfection, right? I tell you what, money is a hell of a driver, right? Say whatever it is you want. Oh, people are selfish, they're greedy, whatever your thing is. At the end of the day, that's life. That's the reality. The reality is people are doing things because they want something out of it, right? Obviously, at a certain point, maybe if you wanted to be a doctor, that was some sort of a drive you had to do that and to accomplish that. But at the same time, if it was making the same amount of money as being a waiter, maybe that wouldn't be your dream. Maybe the fact that it is such a highly regarded industry that pays well is a factor in that becoming your dream job, right? You know, it's just one of those things where you kind of like throwing away the natural order of human beings and thinking that, you know, everyone is going to do it just for the sake of doing it. No, that doesn't work. That excuse me. That's why capitalism works so well, because it's pitting your selfishness. Your selfishness helps another person, right? You have a product, you have a service. This is this service and product that you have, that you own, that you can do, you believe is worth X amount. The other person needs a service done, needs a product done, and they are willing to exchange a certain amount for that product or service, right? You get what you want, they get what they want. When you socialize things, when the person paying the bill and the person receiving the benefit, receiving the money, when all that stuff is taken out and given to the government or given to a third party, where, you know, somebody else is footing the bill, massive things go wrong, right? Either things become way overpriced, like we see in a lot of healthcare today, or the quality of things drastically declines, right? So if you're at a clinic and they only accept Medicaid or whatever the aid is, right? Do you believe the quality of service you're going to be getting there is superb? Of course not. Everyone understands this, right? And it's just this notion that you just have to be honest with yourself, and you have to say, okay, if you're talking about a generalized safety net for general health, I don't think many people are going to have an issue with that. I don't think many people are going to have an issue stating that if somebody needs a surgery or whatever, that we can all pull together and we can help them get that. Now, like I said before, the libertarian argument would be, no, we should let people do that. People do that. Smaller groups, definitely not the federal government by any means necessary. Definitely not the federal government. If you want local governments to tackle that, if you as a collective society get together and say, we're going to all pull together and we're going to all have this bank of money that's going to be used for that, that's fine. If that's a some sort of local governance that you guys have and you guys want to work out on the libertarian side, in my opinion, that's not an issue. But to have a massive federal bureaucracy siphoning money off the thing the entire time, you're not going to get anywhere near your money's worth, first of all, and second of all, it's there's going to be fraud. There's going to be fraud throughout the entire system. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And the problem with the right is they demonize people on the left for wanting that. But it's coming from a good place. Like, I always think that people on the left, they're coming from a good place. So, for the most part, they're coming from a good place. As far as their ideas that they have, the problem is they're not practical, and the implementation of the ideas usually end up in a net negative, right? Because they're trying to do things that are completely against the natural order of humans, of beings. Like, they think everyone is this amazingly altruistic person that is going to give everything from themselves to the other, and that's not the reality. Whereas if you're more right leaning, then you believe in the market, and the market, the invisible hand of the market is blind. It's just gonna, this person has something they want, that person has something they want, boom, they meet, they get it done. I think that's about it for this, but let me take a look, see how much. It's a good topic, interesting topic. He goes on and talks about a lot more. If you can, hit that like button. Give me a share. Give me a subscribe. I really appreciate all the help, guys. We'll see you again real soon. Thank you guys so much.